Hi friends, this is Katerina from the Evolution of Stiches. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can knit this neck, which you can use in many projects. This neck is elastic, as you can see. It's a double neck, and I have joined the two parts without sewing. So please watch the video to find out how to do it. The first thing we need to do is to calculate the number of stitches we need for the neck. Your best option, of course, is to measure the neck of the person who is going to wear the sweater. If you cannot do that, what you need to do is to measure the head circumference and the neck circumference, divide them by 2, and then add 4 centimeters of ease, and this will give you the centimeters you need for the neck opening. And when you know the centimeters you need, you can calculate the number of stitches based on the gauge of the rib stitch. Another way is to use the percentage. So when you use the percentage, you measure the circumference of the widest part of the chest, and the neck opening is 45% of this circumference. In my case, because I'm going to knit a simple crew neck, and also it's going to be a double neck, I am going to cast on the stitches I need in order to get 57 centimeters for the neck. In the description below you can find an Excel template where, if you change the stitches for the gauge that you have knitted and for the centimeters you need for the neck, you can calculate the number of stitches you will need to cast on. So in my case, I will need to cast on 80 stitches for the neck, but I'm going to cast on 81 stitches because I need an extra stitch in order to join the neck in the round. As I already said, I'm going to knit this jumper top down, starting from the neck, and also I will knit a double neck. So I will use the provisional row of chains in order to cast on my stitches. For the provisional cast on row of chains, I'm going to use another yarn. Ideally, the yarn that you are going to use, it can be a scrap yarn, of course, and should be a contrasting color from the color of the jumper, and also it should be thicker. Now I have this one, and also I'm going to use a size 5 hook, a thicker hook, and I'm going to use the circular needles for the cast on stitches, but at the moment I am going to use only one knitting needle of the two. So let me show you how you crochet the provisional row of chains. So first you will need to crochet a few chains. The number is not important, so you can crochet 2 or 3. We do this just to be easier to start casting on our stitches. And now let me show you how you should place the knitting needle. So you should place the knitting needle on top of the yarn like this, and what you are going to do now is to insert the hook like this and pull up a loop through the loop which is on the hook. In this way I have created my first cast on stitch, if you can see it, and now I need to place the yarn behind the knitting needle. Again, insert my hook, pull up a loop and pull it through. Again, the yarn should be like this, yarn over and pull through. And again, let me do it one more time. So the yarn should be here, and yarn over, insert the hook and pull through. Of course, when I cast on the stitches, I don't hold my knitting needle like this. I just do it so you can see. So when you do it, it will be easier. So again, yarn over and pull through. And I will continue in this way until I cast on all the stitches I need for the neck of the jumper. In my case, according to my calculations, I will need to cast on 81 stitches. Please count the cast on stitches which are on the needle and not the chains at the beginning. So please cast on the stitches you need, and I will meet you then. So I have finished casting on my stitches. I have cast on 81 stitches. 80 stitches are the main stitches, and I will use the extra stitch to join the round. So now what I'm going to do is to pull up a long loop on my hook and cut my yarn. And what you can do is to tie these tails so it's more secure. What I'm going to do is to attach the yarn that I am going to use for the jumper. What I will do is to leave a long tail, which I'm going to weave in later, and now I'm going to insert my right needle here into the first stitch and do it like this. So again, you insert the right needle pairwise, yarn over and pull up a loop. It's very easy. Always pull this tail until it's secured. So again, like this. Another thing that you should be very careful about is that all your stitches are facing inwards. They should not be twisted. This is very important. You can also use a crochet hook and pull up your loops, but I can do it this way. So please finish pulling up your stitches, and I will meet you when you reach the end of this round to show you how to join the two sides. I have finished pulling up the stitches with the yarn that I'm going to use for the jumper. I have one stitch left, and I'm going to use this stitch to secure my project. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to insert my right needle on the first stitch of the left needle, and then I'm going to pull up this loop and place it like this to there, and now I'm going to place it back to the right needle. Now please always pull the tail a little bit. Now I'm ready to start knitting the first round of the sweater. I'm going to knit 2 rounds of knit stitches, so I'm going to knit like this. So please knit your first 2 rounds and I will meet you then. Before you begin knitting, please double check the number of your stitches. I have finished knitting 2 rounds of knit stitches, and here I can place a safety pin or a stitch marker. If you have a stitch marker, it will be better, so you'll know where the beginning of the sweater is. And now I'm going to start knitting one by one rib stitch. So we knit 1 stitch and we purl 1 stitch, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 and purl 1, and I will knit the one by one rib stitch for as many rounds as are necessary to get the height I like for the neck of the jumper. But I'm not going to finish there because this is going to be a double neck, so I will need to knit more rows. I'm going to knit about 5 centimeters, and I will meet you then. So I have knitted 9 rounds of 1 by 1 rib stitch. It's about 2 inches and around 5 centimeters, although I cannot measure it exactly because it's not flat. Now I'm not going to stop here. I am going to continue knitting because I would like my neck to be stretchier, and in order to get that texture I am going to knit 3 rounds of stretchy rib stitch. In order to get this stretchy rib stitch, what I'm going to do is this. I am going to knit the knit stitches in the normal way as we would normally knit a knit stitch, but then I'm going to place my yarn at the front and just slip the purl stitch on the right needle, and I will continue in the same way. I will knit the knit stitch and then I'm going to place the yarn at the front and slip the purl stitches. Let me do it a few more times. So I'll continue knitting in this way, knitting the knit stitches and slipping the purl stitches on the right needle for 3 rounds in total. So please knit these 3 rounds and I will meet you then. So I have finished knitting 3 rounds of this stretchy stitch. What I did was to knit the knit stitches and keep the purl stitches. These 3 rounds worked in this way, created this curve where our collar is going to fold in order to create the double neck. Also, it's more stretchy than the usual 1 by 1 rib stitch. And now I'm ready to work my double neck, meaning that I will knit the same number of rounds as in here. That is, I'm going to knit 9 rounds. Of course, you are going to knit the same number of rounds that you have worked at the beginning. So please do it, and I will meet you then in order to show you how to proceed. So I have finished knitting 9 rounds of 1 by 1 rib stitch. In this way I created the double neck. As you can see, in the way I knitted the neck, there is a curve here and it's also very stretchy. Now what I need to do is to knit 2 rounds of knit stitch, and then I will come back and show you how to join these 2 parts of the double neck together without having to sew it. I have finished knitting the 2 rows of knit stitch, so now I'm ready to fold the neck, as you can see, and join the 2 sides together. I will do it in a way that I won't have to sew it. So I'm going to fold these 2 sides together, and I'm going to use my needles in order to join them, and I won't have to sew these sides later. If you look carefully, you can see that between the row of chains, these bumps of the yarn that I'm using for the sweater are created. So when we have found this first bump here, what I'm going to do is to insert my right needle into the bump and place it on the left needle. And what I am going to do now is, the yarn is at the back, we insert our right needle in this loop created by the bump, and then we take this stitch of the final round and we knit it as we would normally do. Please let me do it a few more times. So again, we find the bump, try to pull it up a little bit before you place it on the needle. So now we place it on the left needle, yarn at the back, we insert our needle in this bump, and then we take the stitch, we place it under the bump, so we create a kind of X if you can see it, and we just knit it. And here it is again. Let me do it a few more times. As I said, the next bump is here. If you want, you can use a thin hook and pull up the bumps so it will be easier, but after a while you will get used to it. So now I have placed the bump on the left needle. I'm going to insert my right needle, and then I'm going to take this stitch underneath and knit it like this. Again, when you get the hang of it, you can do it at the same time. You don't need to take the bump first on the right needle and then on the left. Please don't forget to place the yarn at the back. So now I insert my needle, I take this stitch and I'm knitting it. It's not very difficult. So again, like this, place it on the needle. Now insert your needle, take this underneath and knit it. As you can see here, I split the yarn, so I'm going to correct it, and I'm going to find all the fibers of and I've done it. And you continue in this way. I hope you understand how we do it. Please try to do it. If you find this difficult, please skip this step and just sew the two parts of the double neck when you finish the jumper. So please finish this round and I will meet you then. So I have finished joining the two sides of my double neck, and what I need to do now is to frog this provisional row of chains. You can use a darning needle so it will be easier to do it. So please find the beginning of the row of chains and start frogging it. So please continue frogging this row of chains, and I will meet you then in order to show you how we are going to divide these stitches into 4 parts, meaning the 2 sleeves, the front and the back part of the jumper. So please do it, and I will meet you then. And now you can watch my next video on how we are going to divide these stitches in 4 parts, meaning dividing them into the 2 sleeves, the back part and the front part of the jumper. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.